Well, welcome, Stephen, to the Value Podcast.
We're
Thank
kind of
you.
in a different set, and so we're
We
really
are
grateful.
in a different set.
So this is actually where I work. I work with you, for you,
Yes.
around you, and you want to tell them about yourself.
Sure. My name's Steven. You talk about titles, CEO, entrepreneur, education is huge for me. Title is educator and student. And then father and husband, 6 kids.
Wow.
I was hoping you'd include that one.
22
That's one of the
years
bigger
old down
ones.
to 4 years old. Yeah, it's a big range.
Wow.
You have a 4-year-old?
I do. 22-year-old to 4-year-old. So all in between. 3 girls, 2 boys, then 1 girl to end it.
And a
Finish
wife.
it off. And a wife who is amazing cook. Man, oof.
Yeah.
That's why I can't stay skinny.
Well, and all the snacks at the office, right? Those are always tempting too.
Yeah, my snacks are different though. I don't eat all the stuff everyone else does. I eat things that Tanner loves, like sardines and broccoli and avocados and
Tanner, you never told me this about yourself.
We literally had
As much as we hang out,
Okay, I can't think of the
He loves those.
I can't think of the movie right off the top of my head, but this morning, imagine the classic movie scene with a 4-year-old running around with like a stick with like poop on it or something, like trying to get their older brother, like eat it, touch it, do it. That was Steven this morning with a thing of sardines saying, try it, eat it.
On a
do
cracker. I tried to
Oh,
get it
man.
force-fed to Tanner and he wouldn't do it.
so this is an actual inside
it.
joke.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now you're inside the joke.
There we go. There we go.
I'm going to try and get him to eat it someday.
My wife is trying me to.
That might
Sardines
be-
are really, really good for you. I know that sounds weird, but they're actually one of the best things you can eat for your brain.
You actually eat?
Oh, totally. They're really,
Really?
really good for you.
Do you like cook them, or you
No,
just
you just eat them right out of the can. They're in olive oil. They're dang good.
like the head and everything? Like when I
you eat
picture a
everything.
sardine,
It's all of it. Yeah, you did it all. But that's like if you look at Nordic countries or even Mediterranean stuff, they eat that stuff constantly, yet they have very low rates of Alzheimer's disease. They have low rates of other aging problems because they eat that way. All those oils and...
I can feel the passion
Yeah.
behind your voice. Now I'm really tempted to.
Oh, we could go down lots of rabbit holes
does
on
it
health and
taste like-
nutrition and what stuff does for you.
Do you have a degree in something like that, or is it just something you've studied?
Short answer is no. So my background is business. Like I did a bachelor's in business, and then from there I did an MBA in entrepreneurship in Spain, actually. And I love
Wow.
food, so Spain was really fun.
Yeah.
And then from there I went and got a degree in innovation and strategy from Stanford. So lots of education. I'm always studying. Like right now I'm taking classes from Duke in neuroscience just for fun through a thing. If you have never done this, COURSERA.org is awesome. All the biggest schools in the world put like
Coursera.org.
free programs and free courses on this website, COURSERA, like a course.
Okay.
Coursera.
We'll go ahead and put
Yeah,
that in
we'll-
the link
we'll put it in there.
description.
For sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can go take classes on all kinds of subjects.
And it's
So,
free?
Yeah, you can do a paid one where you actually get certificates from those schools for the classes you do, or you can do free and just study the classes for fun, which I do most of the time. I study for fun.
Well,
That's
there goes
amazing.
my free time.
Yeah,
I
no,
would
it is.
love
It's
that.
awesome.
That's so cool.
So yeah, doing medical neuroscience at Duke right now in that, and then I'm doing organizational leadership from Northwestern in that as well at the same time. So I love education. It's not because I want to be the smartest man in the room. It's because I'm probably the dumbest, and if I don't do a lot of education, I won't be able to keep up with everybody. So
Yeah.
I study a ton of everything.
I think the smartest people in the world are always students. So I think
Oh, for sure. You have to.
that's
be a student.
very, very wise. Most of I've been reading a ton of books lately, and of course my YouTube algorithm is constantly popping up smart people that read books, but every single one of them has said reading in your 20s is the most important thing
Sure.
you can do, and they wish they would have done more of that in their 20s, even if they did a lot of it,
Yeah.
which I think is super interesting.
Or listening.
But
I know Tanner's a book listener.
Yeah, I
yes,
love-
yes.
Reading has some benefits to it. I know we talked about that, but
Yeah.
like actually reading the pages instead of just listening, you get different learning patterns from your brain.
And
from doing that.
highlighting and being able to take notes. A
Totally.
little harder to do that when you're listening.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But-
in the 20s is reading, and then as you age, stupid fact, but as you get older, one of the best things you could possibly do is learn a new language.
Wow.
Like by
When you're
far,
older?
to prevent you from getting Alzheimer's and dementia. That it won't stop it if you have that predisposition, but it can reduce that substantially by learning new languages,
No
or like a new
way.
instrument, or things like something that completely challenges you from no experience to full experience. That will help keep your brain sharp as you age.
That's
So
incredible.
are you learning a language?
So
right
I
now?
speak a bunch of languages already.
Really?
Portuguese, Spanish, English, and then Italian's not too hard. French is not too hard because they're all based in Latin.
Yeah.
And then I'm trying to learn Chinese next. I'll probably learn
Chinese or Mandarin?
Mandarin. Well,
I guess
basically the
it's
same thing.
right.
Cantonese or Mandarin, but
Okay,
Mandarin.
Mandarin.
Yes.
Okay.
No way. And so when did you pick up some of the languages, or is this something recently you've been doing?
So Portuguese picked up on a religious mission,
Yeah.
and then from there I used it all the time for business and work. I did stuff in Brazil. A lot of our products are imported from Brazil, so a lot of our ingredients are from Brazil. And then Spanish, Portuguese and Spanish are similar, but then I went to school in Spain, so I got a lot of that experience from going to school in Spain. And then Italian
Amazing.
and French is just, it's similar. I wouldn't be able to like have a one-on-one conversation with someone easily in French or Italian, but I could understand what they're saying most of the time and stuff.
I heard once you pick up certain languages and then you start picking up more, it's almost like music in your head. Like it's a certain pattern that starts clicking.
Totally.
There's this guy that I knew also on my religious endeavors, and
A mission.
A church mission.
Yeah.
He knows 10 or 11 different languages, and he's picking up several more. And
Awesome.
he was writing his doctorate, I think it is, on how picking up languages is like music to him. Like everything is a pattern. It's super easy for him to pick up a language just because he's recognized that in his head, which is pretty cool. Wish I could do that.
Yeah.
Oh,
we'll
you
get
could
there.
do. You could do.
We'll get there. Right now it's books, right?
Yeah,
Books.
The easiest way to do it is just go to those places.
Right.
So if you go live
First-hand
in
experience.
Mexico for like a year, you'll be fluent. Even if you don't study the books or anything, you'll be fluent pretty quick.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So you said one of your titles is father. How
Yes.
is it starting a company? And maybe you can give more information about the company, which would be awesome.
Yeah, I can do that.
And trying to be a father, which I mean, I'm 1099. I work for Farmers Insurance, but technically it is starting my own business.
Yeah.
And just taking that leap in my 20s, which probably seems like nothing to you and other people out there, still felt like a huge leap of faith. But I can only imagine how it is supporting a family. So I would love to dive in that a little bit more if you want to.
Yeah, well, I mean, because I work with the company. Actually, maybe our audience doesn't know this.
Gonna have some.
Yeah, great. Bobello is the official sponsor of the Value Podcast, so we're super grateful for that. If you haven't already, go check the link in the description for 20% off, which is quite an extensive coupon. But kind of what it is it's an all-natural carbonated soda packet in your pocket. It's kind of the way I like to think of it. And so there's a lot of health benefits. There's a lot of sustainable benefits to it. But, you know, a lot of the things that we run into, and obviously I want you to speak more to this, especially as it relates to your family, which is that it's hard to reinvent the wheel.
Oh, very hard.
And, I mean, look at this box. This is, what is it, 12? 10?
14.
14 drinks.
Sodas, yep.
Yeah, sodas.
And
Those
that's
are
what you're
14
attacking
energy
right now,
drinks.
right? Is soda. That's
Right.
kind of what you're reinventing the wheel with, right?
Yeah, right. And,
Yeah.
and something...
Sparkling waters, energy drinks, anything that has carbonation in them that are in the bottles or cans.
Yeah,
Trying to make it into that.
yeah. And so
That's
it's the
so
world's
wild.
first.
Yeah, it is.
People
It
want to
is.
say Crystal Light. People want to say Zip
No.
Fizz. It's not the same.
None of those
Well,
make
none of
carbonation.
none of it has
No.
carbonation.
Exactly.
Zip Fizz is definitely not correctly named. It should be like Zip Water
Zip water.
or just Zip, and they have nothing beneficial.
Zip out here. Get Zip. I got nothing. I was going to make a tagline. I got nothing.
We could have lots of fun talking about why you should never drink that, but that's another day.
Well, go check our website and you can get all the facts as to why not,
Yeah.
right?
No, and for example, like we'll get this quick, but our products only put the things in you actually need. Like our energy drinks have a little bit of caffeine from natural sources. We have just about the right amount of vitamin Bs, so you have like 100% of your daily value. Like a Zip Fizz puts in like 60,000% or 100,000% of your vitamin Bs, which A is utterly unnecessary.
Yeah.
Your body just pees it out anyways as soon as it hits a certain level,
Right.
and it doesn't increase your energy at all whatsoever.
Yeah.
You have to literally inject it in your blood for that to have an effect, but it's not going to help.
Zip Fizz
So-
would want to do that.
It is very deceptive. It's deceptive marketing tactics, and we don't tolerate that. Our whole point is being transparent, truthful, clear. People can look at our ingredients and actually read the label, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Most companies, you can't.
I've
do that.
actually heard if you can't sound out the ingredients on a packet of whatever it is, it can be anything that you can think of at the store. If you probably shouldn't put it in your body.
Okay, do the
Yeah, go
litmus
ahead.
test.
Go ahead and try to read some of those.
Dude, don't put me on the spot.
No,
like
you do.
that.
Come on.
Okay.
It would be easy.
Citric acid.
Yep.
Malic acid.
Yep.
Sodium
Mhm.
bicarbonate, potassium bicarbonate, calcium carbonate, natural flavors.
Yes.
Which Is that an extensive?
So they're a derivative of whatever the flavor is. So if it's like let's say it's cherries, it's actually a derivative of cherries that creates the natural flavors.
Okay, that's
So unlike like artificial flavors, is they just chemically make something that somewhat tastes like a cherry, and then you drink it thinking it's a cherry, but really it's a.
And then
chemical.
they front load it with sugar.
And they front load, tons of sugar. Usually.
interesting. Yeah, I heard. I'm reading this book called Influence, and
nice.
in like the 80s and 90s or something like that, they started putting natural on everything just because it sounded good. But now companies are starting to move away from that because people can kind of see right through it at this point. But
and the FDA cracked down a lot on people for being dishonest in marketing.
Which is a good thing.
That's a good thing.
Look, sometimes.
Okay, this is it starts with a G.
So that is a plant from the Amazon forest. It's on the side of the box, actually. You can see what other side. Guarana, yep.
Guarana, okay.
Look on the other side. You'll actually see the guarana. It looks like little eyeballs.
Perfect.
Well, we'll let that one slide because that's a different
Brazil.
language.
Yeah.
So our guarana is right from the forest in Brazil. It's sustainably farmed, and then we get it in powder form, and that's actually where our caffeine comes from. So guarana is one of the super fruits that has natural caffeine.
Drinking it right now.
It's pretty. Yeah, we're drinking some now at 4:30, which is terrible. But
well, I mean, it keeps me focused and I'm ready to go.
Anyway, so you did good, dude.
I think everything else is just like juice powder or like a vitamin or stevia, but
it passes the limit test.
There was a box of crackers in our break room, and I was gonna go eat one, and then I turned around just to look at the ingredients for fun.
Yeah.
And this is just crackers, right? And it had like 40 ingredients. Like this long of ingredients on a box that's maybe that big.
Wow.
And it's like, wow, this is clearly not something I want in my body because, as you said, that there's just 40 ingredients for a cracker. Like, what the heck is that?
And it's so crazy. They're all just trying to preserve shelf life.
Yeah.
But
so I think that kind of brings us to that question, which was how do you keep going with your family and how does that relate? But before we get into that, if you're willing, I love the founder story. I think it's profound. I think it's the whole reason, as far as I know you, that you keep going, right?
Sure.
Should be slapped on the box.
It's
a good story. You want me to tell that? Is that what you're saying?
Maybe the abbreviated version.
But
yeah,
SparkNote it.
Long story short, I used to work as an executive in the beverage industry, the big beverage industry, like the bottles and cans. If you want to figure out who I work for, you can, but I won't say. But they were a great company. Like, they treat their employees well, and they try to do better products. Every company has its issues, right? That's just normal. But it wasn't per se the company that had the issue. That's why I left. I was up hiking in the mountains of the Olympic Forest, which are just beautiful. And as I was hiking, I found my plastic bottles as waste everywhere.
From the company that you worked with?
Yeah, from the company I was working for at the time, and they were just everywhere. And I was like, holy crap. It was kind of a aha moment of, why am I working for an industry that, yes, people have responsibility to throw things away, but at the same time, why are we creating products that are so easily just tossed and so easily like corrupting and destroying our environment? And I'm not an environmentalist. No one accused me of that. I care about the environment because I live in it. And I see stories of people in places like the Philippines or Cambodia that they go and try to like pick out little things out of giant piles of plastic because everyone just dumps their waste on them. And it's super sad. And so it made me start thinking, hey, there's got to be a better way to do this. And as I brainstormed, there's not really a better way to do it in a bottled industry. And then as time went on, I started looking at other factors like ingredients. So people would be like, customers would call and say, hey, this has sucralose in it. This is really making my stomach hurt. And the kind of the canned response is, well, it's FDA approved. Which is, sure, it might be FDA approved. That doesn't mean it's body approved.
Right.
And I just got to the point where I was like, okay, tons of plastic waste, tons of bad ingredients, and then a few other things. And I just was like, okay, I want to create something better. I want to create a carbonated drink that's completely healthy, that helps people stay hydrated, that doesn't have a huge sustainability footprint. If you talk about sustainability, our truck full, like let's say we fill an entire diesel truck with our products, I take 15 to 17 trucks off the road of a standard beverage by just having one truck full of my product. That's how much of an exchange you are on a carbon footprint and a pollution footprint. And again, like I'm not a crazy environmentalist, but it's us doing innovations that help prevent problems is what it should be.
Right.
It shouldn't be governments dictating that. It should be people inventing things or improving things to a point that actually takes those problems off the table.
Right.
Jeez.
But as a family,
super cool.
Family's tough, man. You know, you're starting a company. It's a lot of sacrifice. Your spouse has to be with you on the ride. If you're not, it's gonna cause massive problems with your marriage. because it is very stressful from a mental, emotional standpoint. And then obviously money, right? You don't have money for the first few years. So you either have savings or you have to figure out how to get money from family and friends, or like right now we're living in my parents' house again, even though I used to live there as a college student a long time ago. Now we're back in there because we're starting a company.
Wow.
So it sucks. Like, I love my parents, but being back in there while I'm trying to start a company is hard because I've already had a successful life, right? I've been an executive in companies. I've been a consultant all over the world doing innovation and strategy consulting with all kinds of companies and made really good money. But now it's like you're making nothing from the basement of your parents' house, and now you're trying to build this product from scratch that is in an industry that's so dominated by the Cokes and Pepsis and Nestle's and sparkling ices and whatever else you can think of. They're so dominant.
Right.
How do you break into that?
Right.
How do you compete with that type of industry and try to change that whole dynamic? Because it's got to change.
Right.
Before
Right.
the government's forced to change by saying no more plastic anything.
Right. Right.
Is it?
And then something that will trickle down into something that's probably haphazard and half thought of.
Sure,
that will
absolutely.
not be helpful.
Executed poorly,
Right.
taxes, whatever it is.
Because it's reactive, not proactive.
Absolutely.
Right. You're on a timeline at that point.
Yeah. Yep. Totally.
Heard, kind of a side note, but you talked about it. I heard the Koch brothers. It's like the second or third. Coke is the second or third most like used liquid in the world. It's like right next to gas.
Oh, Coca-Cola?
Yeah. Like how many ounces do they sell a day? It's like something
It's
ridiculous.
Tens of millions.
Well,
Yeah,
okay, you
it's
can't
insane.
go to any corner of the earth and within 20 minutes not get a Coke.
No.
Like,
That's true.
think about that.
It's
That's
just
insane.
Literally anywhere.
It's just, but like
Yeah.
you think of gas, like how many millions of
Right.
gallons, and it's literally like the right up next to gas, which is so crazy to think about.
Well, you want to put that in context. I don't want to get too far down rabbit holes, but
We
if you
love
look
rabbit
at if you look at the amount of sugar and other junk in these products, the reason that countries, third world countries, are having diabetes rates that are outrageously high, and it's almost all from processed foods and things like Coke, Pepsi, and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, they don't drink water, right?
No.
It's cheaper for them to buy a Coke.
Well,
and
safer,
They
probably.
can't
Cheaper,
drink,
safer,
and they
yeah.
can't drink the water. Like my cousin lived in Mexico for a few years, and he's like every single person in Mexico had like this little fat layer around their
Oh, totally.
belly, just because all they drink is Coke. They're usually necessarily thin, but they all have a little fat layer because
They drink
They drink
like
so much
gallons and
of it.
gallons a year.
which is so crazy to me.
Yeah. It's
So-
killing people, literally. We have 40 million people in the U.S. with type 2 diabetes now.
It's the
And
second.
it's going up every year. Every year gets worse.
It's the
40 million.
40 million.
second
2?
cause of death, or
Yeah.
the second.
It's one of the leading causes of
okay,
death.
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, diabetes, you
Ailments.
can't say that's what killed you, but the conditions that diabetes causes and what it does to your body, it absolutely leads to that. There's several 100,000 deaths a year as a direct result of diabetes. And we're worried about other things.
Yeah,
which we don't
other
need to get
other
into.
ailments.
Other
Yeah,
ailments.
yeah.
40 million.
Yeah.
That blows my mind.
Nobody talks about it.
That is insane.
No, and it's going up every year. It's going up percentages every year.
Yeah.
And it's just, and it's not just here. The UAE, United Arab Emirates, has a really high diabetes rate. Latin America has super high diabetes rate. Chinese will probably get to that point too, because as they adopt kind of that westernized diet and culture and start bringing more and more products from here to there, they're going to have the same problems. We're literally killing people with other products. That's why we have better ones.
Yeah.
That is so crazy. That I can't. Wow, that's like even hard for me to wrap
Wrap
my
your head.
brain around, because you hear about certain other statistics all the time, but that one is pretty large. Like that is crazy.
So, kind of that brings up a question in my mind of the United States is like the innovation capital of the world. I mean, that's what we used to be.
Sure.
I
It
would
still
as-
is in a lot of ways.
It still is in a lot of ways. And, for someone out there that's listening or will listen in the future, whatever timeline, doesn't really matter. They might have experience in a bunch of different fields just as you. And they might have that next idea like Bobello, where it's like, all right, I see this problem. I had this experience. Now I want to use all the experiences that I've had to create this product, whatever that is. Would you say that the experience that you've had in the past easily or has maybe had some effort to translate over to being a CEO and an owner of a startup? Because I would assume, like, what's a tangible step for someone that's like, hey, I want to quit my job. I believe in this product. and I want to just go do it. So what would the advice that you give to those people that says, hey, maybe forget what you learned? Or is it only use some things?
That's a really complicated question.
But I guarantee you it's
obviously the education and everything that I had, and combine that with all my experience, all of those things add up to be helpful for this experience. But there's honestly nothing that prepares you to try to build a brand from scratch, to compete with big players and try to kind of innovate a new disruptive model. There's nothing that can prepare you for that. And the stress of doing a startup compared to being even as a high-level executive at other companies where I have budgets of tens of millions of dollars and hundreds of employees, that is so much easier than doing this. Way easier.
Right.
So it's not for everyone. Doing a startup is not for everyone. Some of the things that can kind of help you understand if it's worth taking that leap is, do you have grit? Like, that is probably number one.
Sure.
Do you have that ability to just get things done? I almost said something else, but I won't say that. Just get things done at all costs, and you're willing to put everything on the line, your health, your everything on the line to make it happen. If you're not, then startups are probably not for you. After that, it's like, how good am I at networking and people skills? Not just people skills internally, because as you are internally hiring employees and stuff like that, your personality changes. Like my personality now, there's a lot of things to my personality now that I don't love, that I need to improve and fix, because the stress of a startup really takes a toll on you physically and emotionally and mentally, especially a startup that starts in the middle of a pandemic.
Right.
That's been a whole nother story, but trying to start that in the middle of this has been incredibly difficult. But that we survived and are growing is just a testament to my team and to the actual product and how good it is, because it's needed in the marketplace.
Right.
But yeah, to short answer your question, like, if you don't have grit, good luck.
Yeah.
Another thing is finding the right product, the right service product, whatever it is that you're trying to fit into. So for example, one of the things I like to do is sometimes take a notebook places and watch for where I can't remember who said it, but if you watch for when people complain, there's usually solutions that are needing to be found.
Interesting.
So always watch what people are complaining about. And if you see things that are repetitive, like someone's always complaining about it and multiple people complain about it, and you hear on like social media people complain about things, you probably have a pretty big opportunity.
Okay. You're not saying about the product itself. You're saying name your industry.
General complaints.
Right.
Someone could be complaining about like a fridge issue, and maybe you have friends and you go to their house and they're like, I hate this feature on a fridge, or I hate this on whatever that is, or I hate that these drinks don't do this. You're finding little tidbits of things that you can add together to create new solutions to those problems. So there's always innovation at the point of where people complain.
Interesting.
That's going to be quoted later.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's on TikTok.
Yes. Making TikTok famous.
I want to ask, and maybe this is a little too personal, but when you were an executive in all your other titles that you have,
sure,
W-2 employee, was it harder to wake up and get going in the morning and be excited about life when you were in that situation, or is it more exciting now?
Or less.
Yeah.
It's my wife will totally attest to this. She might disagree, but it is way more exciting now, by far. And that's a unique thing, right? Everybody's going to experience things differently. So I can't speak for anyone else's experience with a startup or with being an executive or whatever. The stress of not having income is tough, but the ability to go and try and make the difference in lives of people and the planet, and every day know that I'm trying to do something that could help someone with type 2 diabetes now have a drink, because they couldn't have a drink anymore. Like, they had to stop drinking sodas entirely because it could cause their insulin and all that other stuff to get out of whack. It's just a rewarding thing. So I love it way more now, even with all the stresses, than I did when I was a consultant or as an executive. That doesn't mean I didn't love those jobs. I loved them. I loved the people I worked with. I loved going to work every day and helping people like learn and grow and be successful in their roles, and even seeing results from what we were doing as a team. But there's just something a little different about making that like difference in people's lives that you created from nothing.
Yeah, that's so cool.
And I really want to jump in, if you mind, really quick.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, go.
I think exciting, the term exciting, I think gets lost in context sometimes.
Sure.
I think it gets misconstrued as saying exciting is always positive.
Sure.
But consigning can be terrifying, right?
For sure.
I mean, it gets you up in the morning because you don't know how many sales we're going to get in that day.
Totally.
Not because you're excited that you're getting sales, but you just don't know. But it
Yeah.
still gets you up to say, all right, what's the problem? How do we fix the problem? Let's attack the problem.
Yes.
Totally. I was listening to another podcast that,
How dare you?
yes, I cheated on this podcast, not gonna lie, but they.
I don't even know how you would respond to that, man.
I definitely cheated on this podcast, but
He's just getting better material for the podcast.
Right.
exactly.
Right.
Thank you for sticking up.
Wait,
for
you were
me.
on the other podcast? I can't believe this.
Or maybe.
Outrage. Sorry.
Oh yeah, they were talking about how someone commented in this person's podcast and said, "Can we just stop taking a dump on 9-to-5 jobs?" That's all you hear.
Interesting.
Sure.
Is, but he's like,
We're guilty of that.
well, they personally said, I love my 9-to-5. I love a
Sure.
routine. I love being able to kick my feet up on the weekend and not really having to worry about anything. So there definitely is a give and a take for sure. And I think you're probably know that better than anybody.
Yeah.
Well, I think
But-
that's everyone's different, right?
Yeah.
That's the point. Is entrepreneurship is not for the faint of heart.
Grit.
And there's like the 9-to-5 people that loved 9-to-5. They were my favorite people to work with because they got stuff done.
Sure.
Like they're like, I know my job. I'm going to do it fantastically well. And at the end of the day, that's all that matters. Like a good example is I used to own a restaurant, which, by the way, owning restaurants is harder than all of this combined. Like, if you're thinking about starting a restaurant and buying a restaurant and doing a restaurant, just change your mind. But no,
Wow.
they're very very difficult to manage. The people, the supply chains, like it's just a lot of complexity. A restaurant, the personalities, the workforce, it's really complicated.
If you own a restaurant during COVID, if you're watching this,
Oh,
listening,
Kudos to you.
Oh
hope
my
you- I
goodness.
hope you
Deserve a medal.
survived.
yeah.
But I had a really good kitchen crew that they'd go in early in the morning, get their job done, work all day long, leave the restaurant, and I could go lick off my floor, and I'm being literal. Like it was so clean, I could lick off the floor every day. And I never had to worry about anything they were doing. And they weren't sitting there trying to figure out how do they get out of there as quick as they could. They just did their job so well. And I have so much respect for the people that do that 9-to-5 and love doing it and get up every day and just do their job well. Like there's nothing else to say other than that. Respect.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I like to think of it as they keep the world going.
Absolutely.
Entrepreneurs innovate, they create new things, and then those 9-to-5ers, I hope that doesn't come across derogatory.
You're not generalizing at all.
No, those people who do that type of work keep it going.
Absolutely.
And they're so needed.
And
I
they're
think that's
absolutely totally needed.
So, you brought up. We're gonna backtrack just a little bit.
Sure.
I hope that's okay. But you brought up how hard it was to keep moving forward in the pandemic, right?
Yes.
It just totally dumped on you guys.
Yeah,
just
no
like it
one
did a
knows
lot
what
of
that
companies.
likes.
So how did you keep moving forward? Like what kept you moving forward?
It's probably a combination of things. I think first is that passion to continue to help people, knowing that the pandemic even brought more clarity to the fact that we're an unhealthy nation, and that the COVID, for example, I'm super sad that so many people died from it. There's a lot of people that had bad repercussions from it, but a lot of the people that had bad repercussions was a result of dietary choices and health conditions that would have not caused COVID to be bad had they not had those conditions. So as you look at that and the pandemic from that perspective, it's like, hey, we're creating a product that can kind of help prevent having negative reactions to future global pandemics, which I won't get political, but that's going to happen again. And who knows when or whatever it's going to be. It's going to happen someday. But if we can figure out ways to help people be overall more healthy in general and having products that bring us back to a level of almost sanity of how you should be more healthy and not be drinking 40 pounds of sugar a day and all the other stuff that they're doing with processed foods, that will prepare us better for when those kinds of things happen. So that was one. And then the other was knowing that, knowing that I started this and I committed to do it and I had a vision for it, just sticking to that vision and sticking to the commitment and knowing that this pandemic would end and that all the problems that came with it it might change a lot of things, but those overall massive problems it was causing were going to go away and they'd become diminished over time. So just sticking through it and knowing that if you just keep going the strategy, keep following the direction you would, when you have a good product that's going to help you in the long run overcome all the other challenges.
When you made the transition to start this company, did you cut ties with everything? Like all the other companies you worked for? There wasn't a plan B.
There wasn't a plan B. There was a plan B if it failed. Like you have no way to know if something's going to succeed 100%. You have a lot of confidence and you have a lot of like grit to go make it happen, but you have no guarantees. So the plan B was, I got a ton of education and a ton of experience, and so if this fails, I can go back and get another job. And there's things you put internally on yourself, like, hey, if it's not doing this by this date, then I have to do something else, because your family comes first and foremost, right? No matter what, the company's not going to take the place of my family in the long run. So you see a lot of these entrepreneurs, I won't name names or anything like that, in the tech community, who put their company above their family for many, many years, and then they end up with their, multi-billion-dollar exits and whatever else, but they've lost their family along the way. Absolutely not worth it.
Just watch The Social Network.
Sure, I have never seen that, but it's just not. It's not worth it. There's nothing more important than your family in the long run, and if you lose sight of that, then everything you're building has no purpose.
I love that.
And I think also, and it's not only family, it's friends too. I bring up The Social Network because his best friend, Social Network, Facebook, started the company, right? And over the course of the story, completely ruined his best friend that he was
Screwed him
roommates with.
over.
Oh,
Completely screwed him over.
Maybe I have to see it.
Took like 5%, gave him 5% equity, and took the rest.
Wow. Are we surprised?
No, we don't support Meta on the Value Podcast.
I don't support any social media platforms other than the sense that it's a good way to help find people to help them have better lives.
You said something earlier in reference to another multi-billion-dollar company. It's a necessary evil.
Sure.
It
We won't
just
name
is.
names on that either.
No.
I take it? Okay.
Are you saying social media is a necessary evil?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
in some ways. For a company to be successful nowadays, using their
in
advertising
the context of a
platforms
startup.
is a necessary evil.
Yeah.
Though the platforms themselves are not that beneficial to society.
It's just kind of interesting that we made it a necessary evil.
True.
Like we 100% artificially created that as a necessary evil. We didn't have to have that.
Yeah, no, absolutely not.
But
Well, I don't know if the word necessary is accurate. Then it's more like an inconvenient evil that you have to deal with. Because I mean, look at all the
That's so
crap that they're
true.
doing to teenagers, right? Facebook is having all these problems with teenagers that are having issues, and Instagram, girls that get on Instagram and now develop massive self-esteem issues and even become suicidal. And these platforms, they're not helping people live their best lives. They thought it would be a great thing to help bring people together and everything else, but in reality, it just took away that intimacy that people need and crave as human beings and turned it into this fake digital world that does not really have true human relations.
I have a confession.
Well, just
I have a confession.
Let's
I
hear
listened to another podcast too.
you cheated on the
I
podcast.
did. I
It's
did.
okay.
But one thing that I really took away, and I've said this in a different podcast that we filmed, but this man had an argument about when you're growing up, even us, right? When we grew up before social media was really apparent, our communities consisted of our communities, right? Sure. Our socioeconomic level was not super far off of everybody that we socialized with at school. Now that little people, right, grade school to high school have phones, their community just fictitiously got massive. It got worldwide. And so what that creates, for instance, if I was in grade school, I would go to a buddy's house, but their house wasn't too much bigger or too much smaller than mine. So I didn't ever compare. I never needed to. It's this person, I love this person, I'm going to socialize with this person. I never needed to compare. Where now you introduce social media into your life, that socioeconomic level, you get to see people in Dubai doing all their things, going on their yachts, or you see their best friend's house going to some influencers.
And of course they want that.
They want that. But it just creates this really negative effect.
Sure.
And that can be extrapolated to products, right? To bring it back to Coca-Cola, to bring it back to these huge companies. You drink us, you can have that life.
Sure.
Where that's not what Babel is about. And that's why I'm here.
I've never understood, to that point, I've never understood why beer in sports
Right.
is they're like married to each other. Every
Right.
every other commercial
Or
will be
alcohol
about
and
beer.
partying.
And
Yeah.
it's like any of those athletes down there probably rarely drink
Right.
beer,
They
and they're
probably
definitely
don't.
not going
They're probably
to the game. 'Cause
contracted
it's
not
so,
to.
Well, it's
Especially
so
the
bad
good
for them.
ones.
Like,
They don't.
Right.
I mean, maybe if they party every once in a while, but they're probably drinking like hard liquor, not beer, because beer is
Sure.
so bad for you.
Yeah.
But isn't that interesting? Like, how in the world did that get connected together?
I mean, just watch the Super Bowl,
Yeah.
right? People are paying millions of dollars for 2 minutes to say beer is like the coolest in the world.
Yeah, you'll get all
Yeah.
like the cute girls, you
yeah.
drive the nice cars, you hang out on the beach all day.
I don't even want to get into the science of it, but even a little bit of alcohol, and this has nothing to do with religion, it has to do with pure science and neuroscience. Even a little alcohol is really bad for your brain. It completely destroys brain cells. Even one drink is enough to destroy lots of brain cells. There is absolutely zero benefit from drinking alcohol. Anyone that says that is full of it. They're not. There's no truth to it.
Well,
Even the
especially-
wine, like oh, drink a wine a day.
Yeah.
All they're getting is resveratrol, which is an ingredient that you can get from grapes and from other things like that. You don't need it in wine because the alcohol part of that is really bad for your brain and your liver and other
Well,
stuff.
Really
It-
quickly,
yeah.
check out the card right here for who I was watching. We just did a podcast very recently on the Bobello channel about the negative effects of stress and
Sure.
unhealthy carbonated drinks. So go ahead and check that out, and you can get into more detail as to what you just said. How does Bobello fix that
Sure.
problem? So just really quickly, I wanted to throw that in there.
Yeah, for sure. The alcohol thing. It's especially imagine kids that are like their brains are still developing.
Oh,
guys
yeah.
guys' brains don't stop developing till like
25 or 6,
27
somewhere
or
in there,
something
yeah,
like
somewhere in
that,
that
and
range.
girls are a little bit earlier. Imagine drinking alcohol while your brain's still trying to develop. Like, and what are the negative effects that has? And then especially the way Americans drink it, right? they drink it to get messed up.
Yeah,
If you go to like other parts of the country, other parts of the world, like I've heard in Italy, who knows if this is actually true, but I've heard in Italy they drink it to like help digest food. They don't necessarily drink it to get messed up.
interesting.
And Americans like chug that stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
It's a lifestyle.
I don't know the stats around all that, but we do have a lot of drinking here. I know there's places that have more. Places in Europe definitely have more, but it's more social and it's more limited. Like you look at the DUI rates that are allowed in different European countries, they're like Utah, like 0.05 or whatever it is. Everyone gave Utah a ton of crap for that, but then oddly our DUIs went down. Shocking. And then the places in Europe that have such low like blood content level or whatever, they also have lower DUIs and lower accidents and deaths. You're like, why do you think there's not a correlation? Like obviously if you have lower blood alcohol levels, you're going to have less accidents and less DUI deaths. It seems like common sense.
that brings up
Apparently not.
a point of like, I think it's just the American culture way, right? It's just
Excess.
excess as well as like we don't care, so it's out of sight, out of mind.
Probably true.
Well, and alcohol companies right now are investing billions of dollars into self-driving cars.
I'm sure.
Did you know that?
No.
I didn't know that.
Investing
But that makes
so
sense.
much
makes a lot
money
of sense.
It makes a lot
in
of sense.
self-driving cars so people can get as messed up as they want at the bar and then just order a self-driving Uber.
You know
or
what I say to
something like
that? You know what I say to that? Do it. It's gonna make me seem brilliant.
It's drunk all day.
I'm like, I'm not drunk. I'm fine. I can drive a car. But we're kind of getting low on time. But kind of how we like to wrap it up is kind of how we've gotten value from what we've learned from you. But before we do that, is there anything on your mind that maybe that's come up that we haven't asked, or just anything on your mind that you want to share as far as your experience and how do we add value to the community?
I think one of the best things I could say to add value to anyone that's thinking about being an entrepreneur or thinking about like changing careers or anything else like that is just do your due diligence and really talk to other people that have been through these types of experiences. Talk to your family, especially. If you don't get your family on board in advance, it's going to be a lot more difficult. And that doesn't mean you're not going to have bad days still. Like you're going to have tough days. You're going to make friendships. You're going to lose friendships over this kind of stuff. There's a lot of employees that were with us in the beginning, and I love all of them. They were great, and they didn't work out for whatever reason because either the stress of the thing or the finances and cash flow or whatever it was. But just know that it's going to be a roller coaster, and that you can ride that roller coaster and have a great experience. Even if you fail, you can have a great experience.
You learned.
But make sure you're prepared for it.
Yeah.
Make sure you do what you can to get everybody on the same page, at least in theory on the same page. And then prepare yourself physically and emotionally as well, because it is complicated. Like I've gone through all kinds of health ups and downs and stuff because of how hard it is.
Yeah.
Even with drinking Bobello, I don't drink soda or anything else hardly ever. Once in a while with a pizza. Who doesn't like a root beer? But just prepare yourself if you're going to do that. And I mean, the whole point of this conversation is not just entrepreneurship, but just in life in general is be more informed.
Yeah.
Like whether it's from political side or from health side or from whatever it is, be more informed. Look at the labels and know what you're actually putting in your body. Look at what the positions of these politicians are in the past and the present and what you think they're going to be like in the future before you vote for somebody. And I'm not going to tell someone to vote for one way or the other. It's simply like we're not informed enough in this society. We're not educated enough. We think because you got your basic education or you went to college that you're good now. It's just not true.
No.
You got to keep learning constantly. You got to keep doing things that will allow you to expand your mind and expand your ability. It's what it all boils down to, is expanding your ability to help others.
Yeah. I love
really
that.
is.
I love that. Thank you.
It's so hard to find the truth in the world full of information.
Yeah.
Kind of ties to what you said. It's so hard to find it. Harder now than ever. Just like when you went, I hate not to call people out, but when like the older generation, right? They went to a library, and the librarian and the books there helped them, sift through the data and information, right? There's a systematic approach to how you got information. Now it's just, you just search something on the internet and you find it immediately.
Well,
I call it,
and you have no idea.
And you
if
get
that's true or not.
censoring from both sides. Like it's amazing how much information that you don't get because certain groups decide that they are God and choose what you get to hear and not hear.
They're
deceiving,
the gatekeepers.
Very deceiving.
The gatekeepers. They shouldn't exist.
Yeah.
They shouldn't.
Period. I like to think of it as the Cheesecake Factory versus the In-N-Out paradox. That's a
I
Tanner.
prefer In-N-Out, just so FYI.
So, okay, I can't say that. I love both. But the problem is when I go to Cheesecake Factory, I have like 100 different options.
There's a lot of options on the
right?
menu.
And it's like I'm there.
100%.
I mean, we went there recently. And it's like I'm spending 20 minutes ordering where I go to In-N-Out. I'm In-N-Out in like 20 minutes, even if there's a line out the door.
Yeah.
And so I think...
And you know what you're eating.
Exactly.
I'm eating burger, some cool little grilled onions, and some cool
It's literally
sauce.
in the title, right?
Yeah. It's not complicated, but the cheesecake, you're like, what? 48 ingredients is in this that was 1,300 calories for this much food?
I know you're hating, but I love Cheesecake
I'm
Factory.
not hating it.
So
It's
funny.
delicious.
Yeah.
It's absolutely delicious. But when I go there, I have to be like, can I share? Because this is 3,700 calories for a meal. Like, that's 2 days worth of food in one little meal.
That's 2 days.
If Olivia's watching, which I know she will be, we love cheesecake, Olivia. That's like her favorite. Yeah.
Nice.
Don't.
I think one of the biggest takeaways, the values that I gained from this is if you guys go back and watch this video, you will hear the passion in Steven's voice, and it sells the product.
Yes.
And I know you didn't bring it up, but I guarantee that's one of the reasons why you get up in the morning is because you love this product, and it's probably so easy for you to pitch to anybody, right? Because you truly believe in it, right? I can't imagine being like one of the Koch brothers, right? There's no way they believe in their product.
No.
They're faking it. Or
When you
they've
say
told
Koch brothers, you don't mean Coca-Cola, do you?
Isn't that
No.
right?
So there's Coke, the Koch, that are like energy magnates. And then Coca-Cola is just I don't think they have brothers. I think it's just Coke.
I got nothing. I was going along.
The Koch brothers own Coca-Cola.
I don't think so.
We gotta
Really?
Google. We gotta Google.
You have to Google that.
We have to.
I think Koch brothers.
Continue your thought, and I'll.
I believe they own energy companies and stuff like that. They have a pretty different. I don't think they own Coke at all.
Well, I'll say what I got from
Coke is publicly traded.
I'll have to look this up.
Yeah, check it out.
Okay.
I'll have to look this up.
But I know
I'll
what
do
you're
that.
saying. I
But
get you.
that is my biggest takeaway from this podcast is 100% make sure your passion, if you're going to go do something as risky as start as your own business, make sure you 100% believe in every aspect of it.
Yeah.
Totally.
Because then it literally sells itself. If you can't hear the passion in your voice, then you really weren't listening to the podcast. It's 100% there.
Well, and don't do it just for the money.
Yeah.
Money can come from being successful, but do it for the passion and do it for the right reasons to help others. Even if it's not like a consumer, but it's a business to have better software or whatever it is. If you do it to help people, and the money will come.
Yeah, that's kind of our philosophy here at Value is kind of behind the curtain, I guess. If you create the value first, the value for you will follow, and the monetary. The thing that I got from this wasn't so much that I learned well, I did learn a lot, but I would say the thing that I got the most value from was something that was reaffirmed, which is I'm not starting a startup. However, I do have a business of my own, and it was not a source of contention, but a source of a lot of worry because I got married last year.
Sure.
And so I had to talk to my wife, well, fiance, girlfriend at the time. This is what I want to do. Are you on board? And there was a lot of discussion, and not all of it positive. And there are a lot of people who have said that they're in my corner at the time, and things have been worked out since then. However, a lot of people that I've grown up with is like, you know, they tell Olivia, well, when Tanner things fails, at least you have your career to fall back on.
Yeah, that's tough.
And that's tough to hear, especially getting married. And so, you know, I believe in this product. I believe in what I do. And so hearing that from someone that, you know, has been in the world's term successful, it's good to hear that, you know, I can't speak from being successful because I haven't been yet, but it's good to hear from someone like you that has been in the world, that has traveled the world, that has done all these multi-million-dollar projects. If you believe in the product and you have your family on board, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And that is incredible.
I'll add one thing to that, but like the problem with people in general with like comparing themselves, the social media aspect, all that stuff, is that success is not defined by the world.
Sure.
Right. Success is defined by you and what you feel is helping you progress and grow and be a better person every day.
Mm-hmm.
So if I could take one more thing and say to everyone is that don't look at success as like a metric that you have to live up to that somebody predetermined for you, or that the Joneses, what does that keep up with the Joneses?
Right.
That's not a success per se. Success is really what gets you up in the morning and what you do to help others that helps you and your family be happy and live a productive life. And then measure your success by that. If you measure your success by monetary reasons, you'll never gain true happiness. That doesn't mean money doesn't bring happiness.
Right.
It doesn't bring like new experiences and new things, but it doesn't bring everything. So success needs to be gauged and measured in different ways for every person, and you need to not compare yourself to others when you're looking at success. Because I know a guy, obviously no names, but John, we'll say John.
John Doe.
He was a janitor his whole life, and yet never felt like he wasn't successful.
Interesting.
And to me, that's an amazing. His job was to make people feel like I'm in a good spot. It's clean. It feels great. And he was an amazing person.
Yeah.
But he didn't ever say, I didn't have the fancy cars and the fancy houses, whatever else it wants to be. But his success was higher than almost anyone I knew in terms of like what was that.
Yeah.
So it's just amazing. Don't measure yourself against others. Measure your success against what you think is going to make you feel happy and what makes you progress in life.
Gary Vee talks about that all the time.
Yeah.
He's like 7 billion people in the world need to redefine what success and happiness actually is. Because he's a billionaire, but he's like, I know guys that cry in their Ferraris. They make all the money in the world.
Kill themselves.
Yeah,
Sadly,
exactly.
I'm sure light of that.
I'm sure you've met a bunch of them, right?
Yeah.
And he's like 7 billion people
I know
need
people
to
that
100% redefine what success and happiness is. He's like, way more important to make $50,000 a year and be able to wake up every morning happy than making $1 billion a year and feel like
waking up alone in your penthouse with no one there to greet you.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
I hate that saying. You'll see it all over social media. They'll say, there's a reason why a bus has 150 seats in it, and there's a reason why a Corvette or a Ferrari has 2 seats in it. I'm like, that sounds...
That's interesting.
I love that.
That's a great...
Have you not seen that?
No.
I feel like I see it all the time, and that is the saddest quote I've ever heard in my entire life.
It makes perfect sense.
It does. It sounds so awesome to the teenager that's in high school that wants to own one of those cars. But to an adult...
you just need to put a Corvette engine in a bus.
Exactly.
Or make a lifestyle van.
But to an adult, that sounds
my dream.
miserable. For something that actually has gone through 20, 40 years of life, that sounds miserable to me at this point. It didn't at one point, but that probably sounds miserable to you.
Yeah.
That's a terrible saying.
Yeah. Well, on that note...
Especially the Corvette part. I don't love Corvettes.
On that note...
I was trying to think of 2-seaters in my head. But
I mean, you want to end on a fun little story is when I was a teenager, there was we worked at a car dealership.
Okay.
Stockton Malone Honda back in the day. I don't know what it's called now, but
Shout out.
Anyways, I was like a car lot tech, just
Okay.
clean cars and drive them around the lots,
Sure.
whatever.
Sure.
There was a mechanic, and I don't remember his name, but he had an old Ford, I think it was an Aerostar van, like the old crappy
Yeah.
Aerostar vans.
Yeah.
But he had put
Tip
like
over.
a ridiculously fast Corvette engine in it, and then would go to drag races and kick the crap out of everybody because they had no idea that he had a Corvette
That's
engine in this
amazing.
minivan. But it was when he told me those stories, like, okay, that's incredible. Like,
That
what a
is
fun way to
so
take
funny.
your stuff and then turn it into something fun.
That is such a perfect way to end it, because we are all Corvette engines.
Absolutely.
And the point
100%.
is, it doesn't matter what's on the outside.
No.
If you have an idea, whether it's a 9-to-5 job, or whether that makes you happy, whether you're an entrepreneur, if that makes you happy, if you have an idea, if that makes you happy, or if you're a janitor, if that makes you happy, you are running circles around everybody else that has a better looking thing.
Keep the engine finely tuned on the inside, and then the outside, let it be itself.
And
the
drink
1%, at least in America, right?
Well, I think you extrapolate that.
Yeah, to the world.
Yeah.
I think we could.
Yeah. On that note, we just fixed the world.
There you go.
There
All
we
right.
go. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
And there's 45 minutes, an hour.
There you go.